Well, hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Brand Builder Show. I am super pumped. I'm excited and privileged to have my good friend Kevan on the show. Kevan, welcome to the Brand Builder Show.
Hi, Brian.
It's gonna be great to unpack your journey and talk through so much about your selling on Amazon journey, but also this exciting journey of going on Dragon's Den. Now, for anybody that's listening that's not in the UK, that's kind of like our equivalent of Shark Tank. I assume they had a trademark on that name, so we couldn't use that in the UK. But here we are. It's like where entrepreneurs go to pitch their idea to investors and basically get grilled and look for investment in their product. So I'm excited to talk to you about that, Kevan. Before we get into that, talk to us a little bit about your journey. You're one of our beloved Brand Builder University members. Started selling on Amazon a couple of years ago. Give us a bit of an introduction to yourself and the beginnings of that journey.
Yeah, so interesting journey really. So I suppose one of the big things for me really was about time freedom.
Yeah.
So I've got a camper van. I love getting away as often as I possibly can in my camper van, and I really wanted to do a lot of the stuff that I want to do, and a lot less of the stuff that other people want me to do. So it was so time freedom was a really big driver for me, big life goal. I'd actually been sort of starting on that journey for quite some time. I've got a number of different pension pots that I was putting into. Because the way I looked at it at the time, having a pension was literally the sort of the ultimate in passive income, where you could you could draw money, and so long as you were, you didn't have to really do anything apart from keep breathing, which was which is great. So I suppose I had this sort of this time frame in mind, and it was always 55.
Yeah.
So a number of reasons for that date. Probably won't bother going into it just now, but 55 was really the sort of like the time where I really wanted to look at being able to sort of retire with my pensions, and sort of like do a lot more of the stuff that that I love to do, that I really want to do. But I suppose when I started hitting 50 and I started doing the sort of like the sums, it just really wasn't adding up. So looking at it, I was thinking, well, do you know what? I really still want to be able to, sort of like have that freedom when I'm 55. But sort of to be able to do that, I'm really going to probably have to have another sort of income. So I started looking at, sort of businesses. Because of my, my lifestyle, wanting to get away in the camper van, really sort of, if I was looking at a business, I was thinking, well, it could only really be, something online, something that I'm not, time dependent, that, that I could still do stuff while I was away, sort of sitting at the beach, sort of, watching the sort of the waves roll in my camper van. So, so it kind of ruled out, a lot of businesses sort of, at the time, like, stuff where you're actually physically, having to be, at a place, like a shop or, or various other things. So, I guess, the obvious sort of choice for me was online retail. So I started looking at a number of things, selling stuff on eBay, and this was probably about the tail end of 2018. I started so I had a lot of stuff, around the house like most people do. So I started sort of like listing them and selling them on eBay, which was great fun. I mean, I really enjoyed that. But there was, I suppose there was drawbacks in that, and the fact that you had to have products, in your house. You had to pick and pack and post them yourself.
Yeah.
You had to, do all the listings, and then you had to keep on trying to find other products, that you could sell. So that wasn't really, sort of, ideal for me. And then probably, early January 2019, I'd actually heard about this thing called private label selling and Amazon FBA. And prior to that, I'd never heard of it. And I thought, wow, so what a great business model You can have your own products. You can send them into Amazon. You don't have to stock them in your own house. You can send them into Amazon. Amazon will sort of, when you sell them, they'll pick, pack, and post them, send them out to customers. Amazon is a huge, obviously, huge marketplace, and and they'll also deal with a lot of the customer service as well. I thought, well, I could easily do that. Whilst I'm away in my camper van, I could easily, work on that whilst, in full-time employment, which obviously I was at the time. So that really kind of got me into the kind of like the Amazon FBA sort of, and starting an own business. But
Yeah.
I suppose like everyone though, Ben, I didn't have a clue. So it sounded like a good idea. And I suppose the first place that you look, everyone sort of goes on YouTube, and there was like loads of videos and that on YouTube, and some good, some bad. And people were going, "Oh, look at me! I'll make you a millionaire in sort of like 6 weeks." And do you like my Lamborghini? And I suppose then, I came across a certain guy called Ben Donovan.
Dodgy.
He's like, you ever heard of him?
Yeah, dodgy geezer, yeah.
Dodgy geezer, and we had a sort of a YouTube video, and and I thought one sort of what I liked about it is as you were mentioning about how we can use sort of like online businesses for that time freedom.
Yeah.
Really about freeing up freeing you up from the grip that money has over time, and how everyone's sort of just trading their time for money. And if you have your own business, you literally have that freedom. And I thought, wow, I said, this is exactly what I'm looking at. So I suppose you had this course at the time, Ben, called the Amazon Masters, which I literally signed up to it pretty much straight away. So that must have been about maybe January, February time. 2019. I think you probably, your course probably wasn't that long running. I would think.
It just would have been like right at the start then, yeah.
So that's I suppose where I started.
Yeah, no, that's great to hear your backstory, and I'm obviously conscious of there's so much I want to ask about Dragon's Den, but I also want the audience to know about your journey a little bit as well, because you are doing really well now, but it wasn't always like that. Obviously you've launched a couple of products, but the product that you actually took onto Dragon's Den, again we'll get to that in a minute, has been doing really well for you, and I do just want to talk about what it is you've done to be a success with that. You're kind of like my poster boy for doing a good job in the area of really differentiating your product. Can you talk to us about what you did and the price you're able to charge because of that? Just give us a bit of background to then how your business grew because of that.
Yeah, sure. So I suppose you need to sort of go on first of all, sort of my initial product that I launched. I suppose when I looked at products, etc., and I remember there was a I think one of the early modules in your course where you kind of mentioned sort of like niche first or product first. So you could look at like various sort of profitable products and with high demand, low competition, and then sort of like build a brand around that, or go for a specific niche. So I ended up sort of deciding to go for a specific niche. So I've got two dogs, and they were like obviously a huge passion of mine as well. And I decided I wanted to do a pet product brand. So trying to find initial products was very difficult, actually, in the pet product brand. A lot of the products you need sort of like various variations and quite a bit of sort of capital.
Yeah.
But sort of I ended up, because I really wanted to have my business sort of up and running, and obviously I had this kind of time pressure on myself that I wanted to have everything up and running by the time I hit 55. I decided to sort of offer a product. I thought, well, do you know what? I'll just go out there. I'll put a product out there, and I will learn the ropes while I go there. Didn't think that I would probably end up having a brand on this product, but sort of it was like a learning curve for me.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm no longer selling that product, but you mean it was a, it was a great sort of like learning curve, and I learned
Yeah.
loads. And then probably I would probably say maybe about I've been selling this product for maybe about a year, and it wasn't doing particularly well, if I'm honest. And we were sort of, my wife and I and my niece were over at the time, and we were outside. And I've got a dog, sort of Lucy Lou, who's a chow chow, and she's sort of bothered with hot spots, and she had to wear this cone of shame, sort of like for like weeks at a time, and it was like, and she hated it, and it was really making her miserable, and it was making us miserable too. And we tried like an inflatable collar, which was which was great. But when we were actually looking out there, the only options were either sort of like boring blue or sort of like dull grey. There was nothing there of with any color, etc. And then sort of, I'd love to take the credit of this, but I'll give this credit to my wife. She came out and goes, you know what? Wouldn't it be great, if we sort of like had it as a sprinkle of donuts? So like it looks like a donut, wouldn't it be great? And I thought, do you know what? When something actually clicks and you think, wow, what a great idea.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think because I'd already been sort of selling on Amazon, I could pull the trigger pretty quickly. So I started contacting suppliers and everything. And I suppose from the first sort of concept of of the idea to actually getting it on the shelves and selling on Amazon was about 5 months.
That's pretty quick.
Which is really good. So we looked at. I suppose we were sort of like scratching our own itch because there was there was a need for us, and the actual products that were out there we weren't happy with. One, there was sort of the design was terrible. There's another things as well. The material, we improved on the material. So so we really designed the product around about what we would like, with the hope that we'd be selling to sort of customers just like us, that other people would like.
Yeah, and that's exactly what we talk about, right? Solving a real problem, differentiating. You were telling me that that's enabled you to really withstand lower pricing in your niche as well. You've been able to stand out there as a higher priced product, which again is going to be such a difference maker for you.
Yeah, so I'd probably say we're probably maybe about 70% more expensive than than the other products that are out there. So so there definitely is a bit of a difference, which is great really, because we're not really I suppose looking at the sort of like the target market, that's sort of cheap and cheerful really.
Yeah.
Because everyone's getting into that. And there's loads of there's loads of products out there, that if you're just looking for the cheapest, then you'll find it.
Yeah.
So we're really looking for a product that that our customers love, that they looks totally different really, from an aesthetic point of view to what's out there, and just really sort of like is really different to like your standard inflatable collar.
Yeah, definitely. No, that's really good, man. And then just fast forward us to the impact that's made on your business in terms of as much or as little as you want to share. That's absolutely fine. But volumes and what that's enabled you to do, because you've retired now, right?
Yeah. So I said my goal was 55, and then 2 weeks after my 55th birthday, I sort of left my job and sort of like started sort of like drawing some pensions.
Nice. Yeah, good stuff. And the business is really moving forward as well, to the point where you went on to Dragon's Den, which is what we'll get onto.
Indeed.
And you went on there looking to really get some help to grow this business, which it must have been an exciting kind of prospect for you. I know there would be a lot of people with a lot of questions about this, and I'm fascinated about the experience, what you went through. So take us back to the beginning. At what point did you think, right, I'm going to apply to be on Dragon's Den?
Yeah, so it was a Saturday in April last year. So I was just sort of sitting, sort of like monging it on the sofa, looking through my computer, surfing the net, and I think I must have come across, an advertisement or something for applications for the new series, Dragon's Den, which is series 19. So I went on the Dragon's Den website, and on there was an application form that you could actually fill out, to be on the show. Now I must admit, I've been a fan of Dragon's Den, but I had absolutely no sort of recollection, and never ever saw me in a million years ever appearing on Dragon's Den.
Yeah.
It was. But I thought, well, do you know what? I've got a product. At the time, I'd only pretty much launched it, say, a few months before, which went sort of great guns, and then I ended up running out of stock. And at the time, when I was sort of like looking at applying for Dragon's Den, I was actually out of stock, just waiting for new stock to sort of come in. So I had a little bit of sort of time on my hands. And I thought, do you know what? I'm gonna apply for it. I think it'll do well in Dragon's Den. I'll be able to take my Dog's Den model in the product. It was different to, say, a lot of the usual products, etc., and usual things that you see on Dragon's Den. So I thought it would be, I thought it would be good. I thought it would work out well in Dragon's Den. I thought maybe have a chance. So I filled out the application form.
Nice. Yeah, no, definitely. And then what was the first contact you had from them? Who got in touch with you?
Yeah, so they kind of sort of like said, on the application form, they get thousands of obviously applicants every week.
Yeah.
And and they sort of like they obviously have an initial sort of like sifting through process. And if you don't actually hear anything sort of like within the next couple of weeks, then you haven't obviously made that cut. So I was kind of thinking, well, do you know what? I'll if I hear nothing in 2 weeks' time, then I haven't been on the show. But anyway, literally, I'd filled it out on the Saturday, and then sort of come the sort of Wednesday the following week, I ended up getting a telephone call.
Oh wow!
So I answered it, and it happened to be, sort of one of the reps from Dragon's Den, and they said, "Oh yeah, we've got your application form, for Dragon's Den, sort of like, we're really interested in your business, So we had a sort of like a chat, and he said, yeah, and we'd like to offer you an edition. I went, right, okay, and he goes, oh well, sort of like COVID's obviously sort of like happening, and the editions are sort of like a bit different. And he sort of went through the kind of like the process. He goes, oh yeah, sort of you'll need to do a video pitch, 2 to 3 minute video pitch, and you'll need to send that in. There's a number of documents that you'll need to sort of like sign, etc., and send in. You'll need to we need some other proof, etc. But don't worry, he said we'll send it all in an email, and and you can go through it. So I'm like, okay. So he said, we'd like to book you in for a week the following Monday. So this was sort of like the Wednesday. So I literally had like a week to get all the stuff together to before the actual sort of audition with them. Mm-hmm. So I got the email the following day, and it was pretty extensive. So I mean, there was I think 5 different documents that you had to read and sign and send back.
One of them, NDAs or something.
Sorry,
are they like NDAs that you have to sign? Or
yeah, so you had a contestant consent form.
Yeah.
You had a props document. You had some publicity guidelines. You had this thing which was an 8-point production outline as well, which had sort of 8 points, which all had to be signed, as well as doing the video pitch. You also had to video yourself reading that 8-point production outline.
Oh wow!
You had to fill in you had a pre-interview questionnaire, which was kind of similar to the initial application, but it kind of had a few other things in it.
Yeah.
So you had to fill that out and send it, and there was also other like proof documents, so proof of ID, proof of residence, make sure that you're obviously a resident in the UK, and also proof of business incorporation as well. So you had to send your business incorporation certificate. So it was quite, it's quite a lot of sort of stuff.
Yeah. And this is all before you've got any idea if you're going to be accepted.
Absolutely before. So the 2 to 3 minute pitch is literally, a pitch that you would be given to the Dragons.
Yeah.
So so obviously at this time, I'd had to sort of write the script for the pitch, then I had to memorize it, and then obviously I had to video it, which took, as you can imagine, sort of like quite a few takes.
Yeah.
I had my niece over there sort of like videoing it for me. So so it was quite a lot to to do within the first week.
Yeah, wow. And then what was the next step? Was the next stage them telling you, you're going to be on the show, or was there more?
No. So I had the audition sort of interview, and so part of the initial telephone call that I had, he also happened to mention this where we would do the interview, the audition interview, and there would also be a piece in there where he's going to hit record, and you need to actually talk for about 5 or so minutes about something that's not related to actually your business. So when I actually got the email, that wasn't actually in the email. So I totally forgot all about it. So I'm concentrating on the, on sort of like signing these documents and doing I was concentrating on doing the actual pitch. And then when I had the interview, and he was going, right, okay, yeah. So I went and mentioned a bit the fact that you need to talk to me about 5 minutes about something on work related. Right, okay, have you got an idea what you're saying? Right, you ready to go? And I was like, oh yeah. So I literally had like about 5 seconds to think of something that I was going to actually chat to him for like about 5 minutes because I totally forgot about it. So thankfully, I ended up talking, for about 5 minutes about me going away in my camper van.
Right.
But yeah, so that was actually quite sort of like a scary time actually.
This is on the phone with them.
Yeah, so it was a video call. So
Okay.
It was done via Zoom. Yeah, so it was all done via Zoom. So so at the end of that, he kind of told us what the next process would be. So he then had to pitch, my business and my business idea to to the producers of the show. So and he goes, oh, that would probably take maybe about a week. So just because you need to try and sort of get hold of the producers to be able to sort of like pitch it.
Yeah.
So then if you're successful there, then the next phase is due diligence. And he kind of sort of like briefly said, yeah, well, you'll have a couple of weeks to do that, and there'll be sort of like a number of documents or whatever that you need to put together. And and a lot of people find that the most difficult part of the phase. But once you've done those documents, it's fine. You'll have them forever. I went, right, yeah, fine, okay. I was thinking, well, it can't be that sort of extensive, the due diligence. Surely not. You got 2 weeks to do it. God, that's a bit excessive. So anyway, he got back to us, and I got through the part, sort of like pitching it to the producers, and then sort of he then said, right, I'll email you, all the stuff that we need for the due diligence, and it was extensive. Literally, I had to do a business plan, all the different sort of like proof documents, proof of sales, proof of traffic to my website, sort of proof that the suppliers weren't employing child labor.
Oh wow!
Yeah, honestly, literally, Ben, I've got this here, right, and I kid you not, that is my due diligence folder.
Crazy.
That thick. Honestly, it literally took me, the whole of 2 weeks. The 2 week deadline I had, it literally took me the whole of 2 weeks to get all that paperwork together. It was.
This is a lot of work.
Crazy. Oh, it was a huge amount of work, and even then you're not guaranteed then that you're going to get a sort of a filming date. And it just so happened that sort of probably about a week into putting together all my due diligence stuff, they contacted me and actually gave me a provisional filming date, which was the 3rd of June last year, and it happened to be the very first sort of like filming date or filming day of the new series 19, which was the very first filming day that obviously with the new dragon Stephen Bartlett as well.
Wow. So I mean, it's a lot of work, but then it did all move quite quickly for you. I suppose you applied at a good time. I suppose that's why they were running ads at that time as well. But it all did move quite quickly for you. It must have been exciting as much as there was a lot of work.
Absolutely, it was. I mean, it was incredibly exciting. Sort of, going to be going on Dragon's Den, and but every time there was always but it may. It was like we're giving you this provisional filming date, but it may get changed, and it may, and so you don't actually really. You can't guarantee that it's actually going to happen.
Yeah. Until
it happens.
Yeah.
And I mean, incredibly exciting. Honestly, it was. I was buzzing, but the thing is, I mean, it was incredibly exciting, but you had to keep it to yourself because you weren't allowed to tell anybody, which was even harder, which was quite hard. So you couldn't tell anyone that you were going on Dragon's Den. The people at work didn't know. I think the only people that did know was one, my wife, obviously, and my niece Carrie, who we actually wanted her to come down with us because we had our dogs and we wanted her to look after the dogs while I was in chatting to the dragon. So two people knew.
Crazy, because you're a pretty active member of our BBU community, and then everyone found out, and they were like, "Oh, Kevin, you dark horse! How have you been keeping this from us?"
I know. It was under pain of death. I couldn't say anything. I did have to sign like a lot of non-disclosure agreements and stuff. There was a lot of stuff that was involved in that, and they were saying, and the risk was that if I did sort of like tell anybody, and it happened to sort of get out into the public domain, and and the dragons happened to find out about it, through maybe sort of like social media or or whatever channel, then that would then put at risk any chance of actually me being on the show, let alone any chance of it actually getting aired.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, so you did get on the show though, and then you got that filming date, and you presumably it was they film in Manchester, right?
They do, yeah.
So you came down. Did you come down the night before? Get a nice hotel?
Yeah. So we came down the night before. So I drove down with the dogs. We had. We also had this sort of about 40 like donuts that are in the van. So we came down in the camper van the night before. Nice. I had another contact in Dragon's Den, that sort of one of the admin guys. So I had to drop off all the products the night before, and they put us up in a hotel, and we were scheduled to go on. So they had two. They have two sessions a day because they don't want sort of everybody actually sort of like turning up at the same time. So they'll have two sessions, a morning session and an evening session, or a morning session and an afternoon session. And we were sort of scheduled to be down in the morning session. So we had to be at the studio for 8:00 in the morning.
Okay.
And I think filming was expected about back at 10 maybe. But sort of there was no guarantee on where you would actually be in that sort of morning slot. So there could be like three entrepreneurs, three businesses there, and you don't know whether you're going to actually be on the first one, or the last one in that session.
Yeah.
I mean, I did ask if I could be on the very first one, because there were a couple of reasons. We had, obviously, because we had the dogs. I didn't really want them sort of like hanging about, in the studio for like hours on end.
Yeah.
And sort of my niece Carrie, who came down with us, she was training to be a radiographer, and she actually had an exam the following day.
Oh wow!
So we really need to get back up from Manchester up to Scotland, that day. we couldn't stay another night. So I'd asked if I could be on the very first session. But there was no guarantee that that I was actually going to be on it. But as it was, I was actually the very first person, on Dragon's Den and that sort of it, on Series 19, actually, and in front of Stephen Bartlett for the very first time. So I was the very first entrepreneur that Stephen Bartlett actually met, which was quite exciting.
Yeah, that is very exciting. Emotions as you walked through the doors to go in that room. Heart was beating.
Well, do you know what? Sort of, I was actually really, really sort of confident. So when you actually go down there, you get there obviously early. You have to go through, all the different sort of like stages. You actually sort of like you pre-film. So so I was with the dog. So where you're waiting to get in the elevator, you pre-film that. When you're in the elevator, that all gets pre-filmed. Walking out in front of the dragons, that's all pre-filmed. I literally probably said my pitch about 10 or 15 times, through that whole time while I was there in the morning. So, which was great because that just managed to get me sort of like really confident with my pitch. You had to give all your pre-interviews. You have to give that, which probably lasted maybe about half an hour actually.
Yeah.
So by the time I actually came to sort of go on, I was ready to go. There was a number of delays. I think they had some technical difficulties, maybe with the sound, etc. So I think we were due to go on about back at 10, and I think it might have been near us at like 12 o'clock actually before we actually went in.
Oh wow!
So that was from 8 o'clock we got there, and then sort of like about 12 o'clock we actually went in. So yeah, I was ready to go. I was fairly pumped. I was really looking forward to it. Yeah. So really excited to sort of like just to get out there and sort of like and get in front of the dragons, which is brilliant.
That's awesome, man. And then the pitch, how did it go?
Yeah, so I thought I nailed the pitch. It went really well. As I said, I probably sort of like said my pitch about 15 times before I actually had to deliver it in front of the dragons. So it was great. So I thought the pitch went really well. Sort of like everything, at the start, I thought went really well. Yeah. Which I suppose when you're actually watching sort of like Dragon's Den as well, and you see sort of like some people kind of like stumbling, maybe sort of like on the pitch, and you do get sort of like lots of opportunities. Well, I found you get lots of opportunities to actually just keep repeating it and keep repeating it and keep repeating it. So it was obviously when you're in front of the dragons, there's maybe a different, it's obviously a different prospect.
Yeah.
But because of that repetition, that was good. So I just repeated everything, that I'd been doing for the last 15 times.
Yeah.
And it was good. It was great.
Good. And then what was the initial reaction from the dragons like? Who was first to challenge you and ask you questions?
Yeah, so funny enough, Steve Bartlett was the very first person actually to ask a question. He was asking me about a lot of the sort of like the financials. I was in there for probably sort of like good part of 2 hours.
2 hours.
2 hours, honestly, 2 hours, and a lot of that was like really kind of sort of getting grilled, honestly. But yeah, two hours sort of them asking questions and sort of like and getting grilled. Some were obviously we're probably better than others, but so it was a long time, and then when it did obviously get sort of like aired, it was only really on for the montage slot like 2 minutes, and and I was in there for 2 hours.
It's crazy. Yeah, we'll get onto the airing definitely because I'd like to chat a bit more about that dynamic as well. When it came to investment time, what kind of unfolded there? Did you feel like there was some dynamics at play there?
Yeah, so so I would probably say sort of initially sort of like Stephen Bartlett was was really interested. He loved the product, he really did. Deborah Meaden and Sarah Davis probably not so much. So uh, Deborah Mead in particular, I just kind of got the impression that there's, in her eyes, there's already, a product out there, and which does a job, and she didn't really see much of a point for my product. Sarah Davis, I would probably say, one of her big things is I wanted to get my product also into like more traditional retailers, like into shops and stuff, and she just didn't see that happening at all. Which I find quite interesting, actually, because now I'm actually selling in some independent pet shops, which is quite funny. Sort of Tuca. Tuca was lovely. Sort of. I just don't think that there's maybe enough profit in it for him. And. Yeah, sort of like and I suppose it's sort of like the rest. There was kind of mixed, certainly mixed, sort of a mixed amount of questions, a mixed amount of, a mixed amount of interest, sort of like in the product and the in the business.
You talked about the profit and the investment and what they get back for it. How did you decide on what to ask for in terms of an investment and what to offer in terms of a percentage?
So so that's a really good question, actually. So I'd only really been selling for for a short time, so I had to kind of really look at potential and extrapolate some of the sales that I had sort of like literally from the first month. So I looked at potentially around about 40 sales a day. So that's what I was looking at. So I was looking at, say, okay, 40 sales a day, that would sort of like roll up to a revenue of, say, around about £300,000. So take sort of like 30 grand, 10%. So that's kind of how I worked out the the percentage. So I was looking for 30 grand for 10% investment.
That's very reasonable in comparison.
Well, I thought it was incredibly reasonable, to be honest.
In comparison to some of them that you see go on there, and they've got a 5 million valuation, they've not even made a sale. It's
and so I ended up selling about 870, I think it was, in the in my first month. And that's just sort of like a brand new product. Straight straight, no reviews. Straight onto Amazon. So. Yeah, so personally, I thought they were getting a bargain.
Yeah,
if I'm honest, but sort of, I guess they never saw it that way.
No, but I think you can now sit there and look at your the growth and progress as a business and think, well, they've missed out there because you've continued to get stronger and grow, and we've been talking about launching into different countries, and there's lots of opportunity there, and they've missed out on that. So which maybe spoiler alert. Sorry, I should have said that to you. Well, what did you get an investment? Maybe I'm just spoiled at that.
Yeah. No. I didn't get an investment, but I've still got 100% of my business, and which is good. So.
Yeah, when you left, the initial feeling, were you disappointed?
Do you know what? I was probably not so much disappointed. I felt kind of sort of drained because I'd been in there for say 2 hours.
Yeah.
I wasn't really that disappointed, if I'm honest. I actually felt that that I gave everything. I answered every question to the best of my ability. When I left, I had no sort of real regrets, I would say. Sure, of course, disappointed. I suppose everyone's probably a little bit disappointed because obviously I went in there for investment and I didn't come out with it. But I certainly wasn't overly disappointed. If I'm honest, I would do it all again, in a heartbeat, even if I got the exact same outcome.
Yeah, good. No, that's good to hear. And then there was the wait for it to air, and you weren't even sure whether it would air. They didn't tell you it's definitely going to be on TV, right?
No, so exactly. So once so the contact that I initially had, with Dragon's Den, sort of he ends up leaving, and it then goes into the production team. So I had a different contact from the production team, but then I was told that that if and when if it was going to get aired, you would get contacted about 2 weeks before the actual show aired, and then obviously the first episode came on, and I was saying, well, do you know what, am I going to be on the first episode, because I was the very first person in
Yeah,
front of the
yeah,
time,
yeah.
so you obviously you think, well, and then anyway, so I reached out to my contact just to find out what was going on, and she was saying, "Oh yeah, you're kind of penciled in for the second half of the series, um, but sort of we'll get in contact when and if you're actually going to get aired." So I had absolutely no idea. I was hoping I was going to get some airtime, but I had absolutely no idea whether or not it was going to get, aired or not. And all the time you have to, keep very quiet, because if anything comes out, then, obviously that's going to be a huge risk to, any possible chances of actually getting aired.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
yeah, so they keep you, they definitely sort of like keep you wondering quite, quite a lot, really.
Yeah. And then when you did watch it, what were your emotions when you watched it back?
Well, do you know what? It was a hard watch.
Yeah.
Yeah, I found it kind of difficult, actually, sort of watching it. But I knew I was going to be on, because there was kind of like a little tiny, couple second, preview on from the episode the week before.
Mm.
So obviously I knew sort of I was, obviously, well, I knew anyway I was going to get on, but that sort of came, and I kind of watched that. I went, oh, and then and then it's sort of like you get kind of a bit of a cringe, because you're kind of like watching yourself in the telly, and
Mm.
yeah, it was a bit of a hard watch, maybe sort of like watching myself on the TV.
Mm.
But you mean it was fine. It wasn't
Yeah.
it wasn't too it wasn't too painful.
Yeah, because it's interesting, right? Because they are, and I've heard it from a number of different places, and like this show, and like many others, like I've watched The Apprentice, every year, and me and Beck, my wife, we sit there and we are literally baffled sometimes at how stupid they make them look. But so much of that is in the editing, and in that sort of 2 minute slot you had, it looked like they were just giving you such a grilling, and they didn't share any of the, you've talked about how Stephen loved the product, like they didn't show any of that, and so I just imagine how, I think you came off really well, and I think you should be proud of what you did, and proud of how you presented it, but they obviously are paid to edit it in a way that's, entertaining, which, must be difficult as well.
I mean, absolutely. I think first and foremost, Dragon's Den's a TV program.
Yeah.
So, as opposed to, like a business investment vehicle, really.
Mm.
And yeah, they can edit it sort of, pretty much any way they want to, which is fine. I mean, I've certainly not got a problem with that.
Yeah. You've signed all those forms that says they can do what they want with it, so
Exactly.
yeah, no, it's good though. It's good. I mean, great experience for you. A lot of people will wonder in terms of the exposure for the product, what that did for you as a result of that. How did that go?
Yeah, so quite funny, actually. So I definitely got a bounce, from from the airing on Dragon's Den. Sort of one of the things which I didn't actually expect, was so we run PPC sort of campaigns, obviously, through pay-per-click sort of advertising campaigns through Amazon, and sort of pretty much sort of like literally sort of like my ACOS has been sort of like fairly stable, around about 20%. The spend has been sort of like fairly stable, and this has been pretty much all the way since I've actually been selling my product. So anyway, I'd had the sort of the campaign set up. I had multiple campaigns set up with various budgets, for all the sort of like the different campaigns. I would never ever use all that budget, for those different campaigns. As soon as Dragon Den sort of aired, sort of loads of people were obviously sort of like seeing the product, going on Amazon, and the first thing that they see is a sponsored ad. So they were clicking on the sponsored ads. So it literally, no word of a lie, it literally probably cost me about £200 or something on extra advertising spend, for people actually going on and sort of like and clicking it just to find out about my product. So in hindsight, I should have probably maybe sort of like switched my advertising off, I suppose. So I didn't expect that. I definitely got like loads of hits, extra hits to my website, which is great. Got a little bit of exposure in some media outlets as well, that cover sort of like Dragon's Den, which was brilliant. And definitely I would say got a like a hit in sales, and I've had people actually reviewing my product with a 5-star review, and actually sort of like mentioning actually Dragon's Den, on the review as well, which is which is brilliant.
That is awesome. Yeah, that's awesome. And for anybody that's listening that maybe wants to be going on Dragon's Den or is actually going to appear on it, if you were to like go back and do it all again, is there anything that you would do differently?
Probably not. I would probably say a lot of the due diligence stuff kind of like prepared me for a lot of the financial questions, etc., that was going to get asked on actually in front of the Dragons and Dragon's Den. I think sort of if I prepared maybe a little bit better on the actual marketing side of the business, particularly the stuff off Amazon, like social media marketing, etc. Stephen Bartlett, he's huge in social media marketing, and I think if I'd maybe sort of like prepared a bit more, to say some of the questions that he was likely to going to ask, although he kind of like loved the product, I think maybe that would have been better. So I'd probably say a little bit more sort of research maybe on the actual specific individual. So like people, and trying to anticipate maybe some more of the questions. I'd probably say 90% of the questions I kind of like would definitely say that I prepared really well for.
Yeah.
Maybe some of the marketing questions that Stephen Bartlett was asking me. I could have maybe prepared sort of like a lot better for that.
Yeah.
But definitely what I say is, definitely, if you apply, you have to be in it to win it. Definitely, it's a great experience. Yeah. I mean, it's a lot of hard work to actually get on the show, but it's worth it, irrespective of whether you get investment or not.
Yeah, definitely, great life experience as well, and a memory that will be with you forever. So.
Memory that will be with me forever, and and it'll be there to be watched pretty much forever.
Yeah, absolutely. Good stuff, Kevin. Well, what's next for you and the business? What you got planned over the next year?
Yeah, so we're looking on launching in Europe. So we're just waiting for the European Fulfillment Network to go live again. Sort of post Brexit. So we're quite excited about that. So. So we're not live on that yet. We're just waiting for Amazon to sort of like flip the switch, and then we should be sort of like good to go. All the listings are all translated, so we're just waiting for Amazon to to pull the trigger on that, and then we can start selling there. We want to launch into the USA, so that's that's going to be I think a huge marketplace for us. We've got a few challenges that we're working through at the moment regarding some of our products, going into America. But soon as we actually get that, sorted out, we'll be good to go. So we're hoping that the next big order that we place, with our supplier, at least some of that will be able to go to the USA. So.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then just sort of like work out, go global really. So I think my big goal really is, yes, I want to build a global brand, but I want to be able to build this global brand while sort of like sitting by the beach in my camper van. So that is definitely uh, a question that I need to try and find an answer for.
Yeah. Well, you're kind of doing that already anyway, because you keep
Kind
sending us these pictures of these beautiful spots that you're at and
of.
making us all jealous. So,
Yeah.
no, we appreciate you, Kev. Thanks for coming on the show as well and kind of sharing about all of that. I'm sure it's been super insightful for people. We're super proud to have you as part of the community and excited to see where the next year or two goes.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Ben. It's been an absolute pleasure being on with you.
You're a
Cheers.
legend. Awesome, guys. Well, thanks so much for listening. Hope you got loads out of that conversation with Kevan there. If you did, hit that thumbs up, hit that like button, subscribe, all that good stuff, and let Kevan know you enjoyed it. And we'll look forward to seeing you in the next episode real soon.